I think some of my favourite pieces of mathematics are when you connect two very different parts of the mathematical world and things which just don't look like they're connected at all. It's like discovering a tunnel from one piece of land into another. And to prove these kind of connections between two things which look completely different, but we discover they're both, two different sides of the same equation. What we often do is to take the first thing that we're setting off from, start to manipulate it, change it, mutate it. Each move makes logical sense, but the aim is that we're going to try and transform this thing into something completely different. So for me, one of my favourite kind of examples of algebraic transformation is the discovery by Pierre de Fermat, who showed that if you have a prime number, these indivisible numbers, which when you divide it by 4 has remainder 1, so for example 41 is a prime number which when you divide it by 4 has remainder 1. What Fermat showed is that these prime numbers can always be written as two square numbers added together. So in this case 41 is 16 plus 25, 4 squared plus 5 squared. Now, at first sight, when I saw this, I was like, what on earth have prime numbers got to do with square numbers? And the beauty of this proof is that Fermat takes you on this weird journey, starting with these primes, and then gradually transform the things until you have this kind of like aha moment where you start to see the squares appearing, and then you realise, you're in this completely new area of territory. So I love this sort of proof where you're making weird connections between different bits of mathematics.
Yeah, and so carrying on with the sort of exploration of string quartet repertoire, which I'm doing through this piece, so that we have moments to ground these proofs in. We had reached Beethoven's Opus 130 Presto, and actually another piece that I absolutely adore is Schubert's Death and the Maiden String Quartet, and this is the slow movement and the theme of movement 2 that the variations are on. So proof by algebraic transformation. Yeah, so absolutely, this was about connecting those two. I mean, yes, perhaps they're not as wildly different as in the example you just gave, but
I think they are. I think they are. I couldn't
like,
see when you suggested this, like, what, really? You're going to get from Beethoven to Schubert?
Especially really fast, a kind of really fast descending one into this sort of deeply melancholic theme. So yeah, I mean, this was a real joy to think about actually, because I decided early on that you would hear the Beethoven as it sounds like this section first, and you would absolutely hear and end up in the Schubert here at the end. And it was a case of finding ways to mutate them between each other. So I think, how many transformations do I have? I think there are 5 transformations. And I realised, it's a case of finding moments, and I realised at some point that actually if I got to this section of kind of there's a very fast variation in the Schubert. If I got to this section of the fast one, I could just slow that down and it would become, and that was kind of my aim. That was like a kind of key moment. I thought, right, I can aim for that, and I did that.
I love them. Yeah. In a way, you dive into the second movement of the Schubert in the middle.
Absolutely.
And Schubert knows how to get from the beginning to the middle, so you go backwards. It's very clever.
That's exactly what happens. It's a case of kind of a lot of the motifs morph and they just become the Schubert harmony as well. So
I think what always in these proofs for me is recognizing the moment when the thing you're aiming for is starting to creep in. You say, oh, now I get where we're going. That aha moment in a proof is really kind of the emotional heart of a proof, and I think you can hear that as well in this piece when you start saying, oh, now I'm hearing the Schubert starting to sneak in, and that's a very satisfying moment.
And I would say as well that this as a kind of this is really helpful for creating anyway in all, just having done this, because it's something, it's very nice to find somewhere, and you might not even end up with in another piece with declaring what the Schubert or whatever it is, but to be aiming for something and twisting it around is a wonderful method of composition, and I really enjoyed exploring this one.